Seinfeld Explained, Season 3, Episode 19, The Limo. George's car dies at the airport, so, naturally, he convinces Jerry to steal a waiting limousine by pretending to be someone named O'Brien. Free ride, free Knicks tickets, what could go wrong? They discover O'Brien is the head of a neo-Nazi organization, arriving for a Madison Square Garden rally, and they're now trapped in a moving vehicle with armed true believers who worship George as their brilliant leader. Meanwhile, Kramer becomes convinced Jerry is either secretly the Nazi leader or a CIA infiltrator, nearly exposing them to the violent mob outside.
George's car dies at the airport, so George spots a chauffeur holding an O'Brien sign and immediately has a plan. Pretend to be O'Brien, steal the limo, get the free ride and apparently free tickets.
That's a big crime for a ride home.
George's logic is airtight, though. O'Brien isn't there. They need transportation. There are free tickets. He calls it victimless. Jerry questions it, but goes along because the cab line is 45 minutes long.
This is George's schemes in miniature. Sounds completely reasonable until you add literally any context about who O'Brien might actually be.
They even waste time debating fake identities. George wants to be Dylan Murphy, settle on Jerry being Dylan Murphy and George being Colin O'Brien.
Unnecessary fake names.
Jerry tests if the driver can hear through the partition by shouting, "What do you say we stop off, pick up your sister, have a little fun back here?" No response. He can't hear us.
I love that the test escalates from simple audio check to gratuitously offensive proposition. Jerry could have said literally anything, chooses maximum inappropriateness.
George discovers they're going to the Knicks Bulls game. Michael Jordan tries to quote something inspirational, completely mangles it mid-celebration.
Cannot even complete his triumph coherently.
Then George calls his mother just to brag he's in a limo. She immediately assumes someone died. He refuses to explain why, gets increasingly frustrated, ends screaming, "I'm never telling you."
He called specifically to show off, but won't provide context that would make the showing off work. Creates argument from literally nothing.
His moment of triumph becomes a fight. Meanwhile, the chauffeur keeps confirming details that sound ominous. Picking up other members of their party, he has 4 passes. They're not just stealing a ride, they're stealing someone's entire plan.
Each new detail adds a failure point they didn't consider.
2 people board the limo, Tim and Eva, while Jerry and George pretend to sleep. Eva whispers reverently about not wanting to disturb O'Brien. Here's the key information. They've never seen a picture of him.
The impersonation could actually work.
George discovers O'Brien wrote a book called The Big Game. Eva fawns that it changed her life. George must now pretend to be the author of a book he's never heard of.
This is the George over-specificity trap. He could have stolen a limo going anywhere generic, instead got one where the person has a published book with devoted followers.
Then, George starts reading O'Brien's actual speech for Madison Square Garden. Increasingly horrified realization it's virulently anti-Semitic Holocaust denial rants. Jerry asks, "You're not going to open with that, are you?"
Jerry treats genocidal rhetoric as a public speaking choice. The Seinfeld underreaction to catastrophe, Nazism as bad speech structure rather than mortal threat.
They're trapped in a moving vehicle with armed neo-Nazis who worship George as their leader.
And here's what makes this spectacular. Pretending to be the Nazi is somehow safer than revealing they're just cheap guys who wanted free basketball tickets. The truth is more dangerous than the lie.
Meanwhile, Kramer and Elaine are waiting on a street corner. Elaine's friend Dan mentions there's a neo-Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. The leader is named O'Brien. Kramer becomes convinced Jerry is secretly the Nazi leader because there's always been something very strange about Jerry, always so clean and organized.
Apartment cleanliness equals secret fascist.
Kramer pivots between theories. Jerry's the Nazi. No, wait. Jerry's CIA infiltrating the organization. His conspiracy logic keeps changing, but his conviction never wavers.
This is hilariously close to being correct by accident. Jerry is in a Nazi-related situation, just through coincidence rather than ideology.
Back in the limo, flat tire, Tim pulls out a Luger. Eva announces she's ready to die for O'Brien. George awkwardly thanks her. Jerry compliments the gun with desperate politeness. That's a nice-looking Luger.
Jerry maintains social etiquette while being held hostage.
George tries to call 911 from the limo phone. Starts, "We're in the back of a limo in Queens." Sees Tim returning, instantly pivots. "AstroTurf. You know who's responsible for that? The Jews." Switches from actual emergency to fake anti-Semitic rant mid-sentence.
Commitment to the bit overrides survival.
George starts asserting authority over Tim. "Who's the head of the Aryan Union? You or me? Who made hate-mongering popular again?" Tim sheepishly answers, "You are," to both questions.
George uses his normal neurotic need for validation in Nazi hierarchy. He wants credit for fascism like it's a business achievement.
When Tim questions Jerry's Irish heritage, Jerry improvises, "From Dublin," mentions the cereal famine, couldn't get a bowl anywhere, does terrible Scottish accent, describes the peat, claims, "We were right on the border" when caught.
Each detail makes it less plausible, but Jerry keeps adding more. The peat, the border, the lush rolling hills.
They arrive at Madison Square Garden, surrounded by protesters. Kramer sees Jerry in the limo and shouts, "O'Brien!" trying to expose the Nazi he thinks Jerry is. The mob starts chanting, "O'Brien!" and attacking the limo. Jerry desperately claims Kramer is cross-eyed and was talking to George.
Kramer's conspiracy theory accidentally almost gets them killed. His attempt to expose the fake Nazi nearly gets the fake Nazis murdered by real protesters.
The limo phone rings. Eva answers, "It's the real O'Brien calling from Chicago. He's stuck at the airport." Eva turns with gun drawn. "Who are you?" Jerry and George frantically claim to be each other, then correct themselves, talking over each other.
Cannot perform basic identity under pressure.
The limo is being attacked by protesters trying to flip it. All four of them, Jerry, George, Elaine, Kramer, simultaneously explain their presence. Broken car, basketball tickets, phone call, nothing to do tonight. While Eva holds them at gunpoint and mob attacks outside.
The verbal chaos is perfect. Multiple people explaining the same scheme from different angles creates overlapping confession. And their mundane reasons contrast so absurdly with the actual situation.
They escape into the anti-Nazi mob, screaming, "I am not O'Brien." Jerry's final line, "I'm not O'Brien. I could never be O'Brien."
Escaping by identifying themselves to the people trying to kill O'Brien.
This episode is a masterclass in geometric escalation. George's victimless crime, steal a limo, get free tickets, adds one complication at a time until they're trapped with armed extremists, surrounded by violent mob, unable to reveal their actual identities without getting killed.
Every new piece of information makes it exponentially worse.
And what's hilarious is they keep trying to maintain normalcy. Jerry compliments the gun, George asserts management authority over his Nazi followers, makes social calls to his mother.
George wanted free basketball tickets and ended up having to pretend to be a famous Holocaust denier in front of armed true believers, while his actual identity would get him killed.
George's schemes sound victimless until you add context. His confident logic is always missing one crucial piece of information. They're trapped in a scenario where pretending to be Nazis is safer than revealing they just wanted free basketball tickets. Jerry maintains social etiquette during catastrophe, complimenting guns and treating genocidal rhetoric as public speaking advice, while George wants credit and authority, whether it's sales or fascist organization.